This is not my typical how-to or best practice video. I've studied Airbnb's new cleaning handbook in great detail. And in this video, I'm going to offer some opinions, both good and bad. There are some really shocking requirements in it and some potentially harmful ones, which I discussed in last week's video. Sadly, I think this is another example of Airbnb losing touch with hosts, rushing something out the door too quickly, and placing far too much burden on us hosts. There has been a lot of outrage online over these guidelines, so in this video, I'm going to weigh in and offer my opinions. Welcome to another episode of Airbnb Uncovered. I'm Matt, the creator of AirbnbUncovered.com and Airbnb Superhost. On this channel, I uncover some of the best kept hosting secrets, as well as share with you everything that I've ever learned after hosting over 3,000 guests. My tips, tricks, and best practices are focused on helping new hosts earn more revenue, attract the best guests, and achieve superhost status faster. The new cleaning handbook released by Airbnb has lots of common sense and logical direction, but there are some ridiculous items in it too. By agreeing to the standards, hosts will get a special cleaning badge on their listing. The badge is going to be huge in the coronavirus era, and it's going to be mega important to securing bookings from the best guests at the highest rates. Many hosts are in desperate financial situations and they need to start earning more revenue quickly. And Airbnb knows this. So why they would make the coronavirus cleaning requirements so needlessly onerous is beyond me. Some parts of the manual read more like a hospital protocol for rooms where patients infected with COVID-19 lived than a handbook for an Airbnb host turning over between guests. Don't get me wrong here, I am all for enhanced cleaning and sanitization. If guests and hosts don't play their part in preventing the spread of COVID-19, this is never going to end, and that could spell the end of the travel industry until a vaccine is found and widely distributed. And you probably know from watching the news that that is at least a year or more away. And sadly, many of us will not survive financially for that long. So let's look at some of the more outrageous requirements of the COVID cleaning handbook. The first and probably most outrageous is the requirement to launder curtains after every single guest. Add to this the need to sanitize every single hanger in your home, clean your oven and range hood, and the list starts to get truly ridiculous. Having to sanitize your dishwasher after you've used it to re-clean all of the dishes in your home is the icing on the cake. According to many health experts, many of these items present a low risk of transmission in the first place. After reading the guide and having such a negative reaction to it, I decided to do a little bit of checking into what hotels are doing in the age of coronavirus. The result? Nothing near as onerous. They're washing linens and disinfecting commonly touched surfaces and employing more sterilization. But are they washing every single curtain, lampshade, moving every single piece of furniture to vacuum and sanitize under each of them? No. Some of the larger and more expensive hotels are investing in expensive steam sanitization machines, but you can be sure that this is not going to be the norm given their high cost and lengthy usage times. So now we're back to why Airbnb is going so overboard, and I really have no idea. The guide also recommends some very impractical practices too, like sanitizing your vacuum after cleaning every room. This is next to impossible since vacuum filters don't work when they're wet. They need 24 hours to dry. Using a wet filter renders it almost entirely ineffective and would therefore simply aerosolize any coronavirus sucked up, therefore creating an infectious situation for cleaners. I guess the solution here is to buy as many vacuum filters as rooms in your home? Not so practical, if you ask me. Then there's the issue of chemical safety, which is not mentioned anywhere in the guide. And this is weird since the recommendation is to use a wide combination of them. Cleaning products, they're toxic, and when they're mixed together improperly, they're deadly. A point or two about this would have gone a long way towards creating goodwill with hosts, and also showing some genuine concern. As I mentioned in my last video, the practice of cleaning a toilet bowl with regular toilet bowl cleaner and then rinsing it with bleach will surely create toxic fumes. And then there's the plausibility of all of this. If you followed every single thing outlined in the guide, and I mean all the reasonable expectations plus all the ridiculous ones, it would likely take a multi-person team a couple of days to clean after every guest and cost hundreds of dollars. With rates being significantly lower than during normal times, this can be a potentially money-losing proposition for many of us. And again, I get it. I don't want to spread the coronavirus. I would also never let a guest stay in a place that I myself wouldn't stay in. And I'm an amateur germaphobe. But sanitizing your dishwasher after every guest, sanitizing your hangers, sending out your curtains to the dry cleaner, it's too much. Guests aren't expecting a stay in a hospital room. And I believe that by trying to focus on every single item in your home is going to be at the expense of focusing on the most critical items. And that's due to the time constraints between guests. So this strategy isn't going to keep us safe. If I'm planning to travel away from home, which I am this summer, I fully expect that there will be some risk associated with it. The same types of risks that I encounter when I go get groceries or hop in the elevator with one of my neighbors or fill up my tank at the gas station. According to the health experts, all of this risk can be easily mitigated by frequently washing your hands, not touching your face with dirty hands, and wearing a face mask as often as possible. This brings me to an important point about guests. So far, Airbnb has not instituted any screening of guests. A big part of keeping us all safe is to avoid people who potentially have the virus or to properly prepare for those who could have it. Many companies in the sharing economy like Lyft or Uber are asking users to attest to the best of their knowledge that they're coronavirus free and to agree to a set of precautionary measures like wearing a mask. Airbnb has not done any of this. And this is an easy measure to implement maybe 24 hours before check-in. It would go a long way towards making hosts feel safe. And heck, they could even ask us to attest before the start of every reservation. I know that thus far I've been giving lots of criticism of the handbook, but there are a lot of good things that make a lot of sense in it. Very carefully sanitizing commonly touched surfaces like remote controls, stove knobs, door handles, light switches, etc. And there's also understanding the difference between cleaning and sanitizing, as well as using self-check-in. These are all great items. And I've actually done a video on self-check-in, and you can check it out by clicking on the little I in the upper right-hand corner. According to health experts, all of these reasonable and cleaning sanitization efforts will go a long way towards preventing the spread of COVID-19. But we need to balance between the plausible and the extreme. It is completely unreasonable for a guest to expect a hospital clean in a world that just isn't so. Do you plan to follow all of the requirements in the Airbnb Cleaning Handbook for COVID-19? Let me know in the comments below. If Airbnb wanted hosts to accurately and faithfully follow the guidelines, then they should have made them realistic. Instead of including every single possible sanitization method, especially on things where the potential spread of coronavirus is low, the guide should have focused on the most high potential spread items like commonly touched surfaces, kitchen items, and linens. What I think is going to happen is that hosts are going to take the test, pass, get the badge, and then clean as they see fit. And they're going to do so because not having the badge is going to cost them too much in lost reservations during a time when none of us can afford that. I think this is more dangerous than if there was no handbook at all. because guests will have a false sense of safety, therefore putting themselves at a higher risk. A much better approach would have been to balance a guest's desire to stay in a sanitized environment against the practicality of what is possible and necessary in an Airbnb during the age of the pandemic. So instead of creating a guide that sought to prevent 98% of the germs, they should have gone with a guide that prevents 90% of the germs, and then they would have had higher adherence to it. Guests would know to be ever just so slightly more careful. And hopefully we have someone in the audience who works at Airbnb and can suggest these changes. I know this video was a little different than my normal ones, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and rate it highly if you're asked. If many of you do like this style of video, then I'll do more of them in the future. I also invite you to check out my other videos on my channel, which uncover some of the best kept hosting tips, tricks, and best practices. If you haven't yet subscribed yet, then please do so and click on the notification bell so that you'll be alerted when I post a new video. Thanks again for watching, and until next week, bye for now.